We actually have Dragon Rulers for you today, Virtual World, and even Regenesis, and so much more. Make sure you guys smash the link crap out of that subscribe button. See, guys, don't miss out on more awesome. I've really been enjoying, seeing the ideas people come up with Genesis format, and you guys actually really like this too. So we are playing maximum Dragon Ruler pointage that we can in this pile, which I think is kind of an interesting concept, right? Unfortunately, the Dragon Rulers do cost points. 14, 14, 14, and 21. I also do see that we do have some point allocations here to our little extender, but the fact that you can actually get all of these points together, be able to play this, it's really cool. Now for your extra deck, yes, you are playing the Dissipator as an extra deck piece. I think that's kind of important. Also do see Zeus down here. Your side deck also featuring things like Gravity Collapse, Lancias, DD Crows, a lot of those, more basic power cards to actually kind of help you out. But this list seems very, very fun. Next up here, Virtual World. Yes, Lulu does cost some sort of points here. It's kind of your trade-off to wanting to play a deck like this, right? You are going to have to cough up some sort of point value for this. Same thing with Foolish Burial Goods. You have to have some sort of allocation. Also, the QB ends up being probably one of the more broken cards running around in this format. But you also do see here, we are focusing, we have Dark Will of No Mores built in the main deck. This gives you a turn to kind of crack your opponent's field and see what you can try to come up with. We do have a side deck down here, which once again, oddly enough, it's looking like the same couple of cards across these decks. I do see Gravity Collapse still being a problem. You see Lancey as Crows. When the side deck is as copy and paste as it actually is in this format, it does seem pretty good. But if you want something fun and you like Virtual World, this will work out for you. Oh, we have the Regenesis pile. Because Regenesis itself cost so many points, you do see that, you kind of got to make some concessions. One of the first concessions in the deck here is, we are playing Impulses. Oddly enough, Impulse does work out very, very nicely because you combine it with the Fire Attacker. Now you're suddenly finding ways to get these draw advantages and go. I also do see we are playing triple copies of the Fleur de Lis, the Thunderbolt. This, with only one punishment, though, feels really, really weird. I see that we're trying like some weird things in here. In this could probably be optimized slightly, or at least a little bit better. But, if you're looking at something to kind of get your foot in the door, a lot of point dedication on this. But, depending on how your hand traps go, this deck will probably work out for you. Next up, we have the Mimighoul Master. I'm very concerned why all of these weird decks I keep seeing pop up just don't even want to play Bot Herder, especially if you're dedicating slots to Thrust here. Why are we not looking at this? But instead, we're using Book of Lunar Eclipse, and we're playing Book of Taios in here. Well, I guess that's going to be one of the easiest methods, right? Because you just put one of the, your flip effects on your opponent's field, use Book of Taio, flip it on up, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. We've triggered the Dungeon Master. We've done a job. I do see we are also playing the Utopic Future Draco in here. You have some point allocation here. I don't actually think that that's a terrible trade-off, You also do have the Lyralisk stuff. Man, this card in this format is massively annoying. But hey, it's level 1 turbo. It's working out pretty well, it seems. Next up is Madolche. I think that this is one of the decks that people have kind of gravitated towards the most in this format from a casual perspective. Because Madolche always is going to check those marks for, I can build a board with this. We got all of this new support down here, especially being able to, shuffle back on the opponent's turn and do things. But also, we can actually use more of the shufflers in this format, being able to tuck back, those resources, or, pitch this down and use these as control aspects against the opponent too. multi-purposing is what's always going to be most important here. That's why you do see, the rest of our allocation is going to hand traps here. You just slap Zeus in for 20 points. You got the big man to break apart boards. You've got everything that you kind of wanted to see here do its job. So I like this, especially, if you got to make an old giant hand, you can. Next up here, Nurse Angel Reficule Burn. Now, the fact that I can say that, and this can actually be a playable deck, is crazy. You do see that Transaction Rollback and Trapaholics here are 7 cost apiece, but nothing down here in the bad reaction department is going to cost you anything. That's where the genius of this deck comes in. We're also dedicating some very heavy pointage to Pot of Greed. As you can see here, we're just going to be using these to dig in. Of course, we are playing a single card in the extra deck, which is hilarious. There's also an actual side deck down here for this. We are playing the Psychic Eraser, Crows, Iron Thunders. A lot of the control stuff that you would be expecting to see running around in this, but I think that this is definitely a build for you to mess around with. Especially they rounded this out to 40 cards, which, you know what, if Nurse Angel Reficule Burden can do its job, okay. Next up here we have Ashen, and yes, this is one of the first times I get to see the Blazing Queen of the domain actually coming into fruition right now. So this is actually kind of cool because obviously, we can roll through Vidos and do the big boy plays, but also Chaotic Elements allows us, the manipulation of, oh, hey, you suddenly have, another monster. Oh, okay, well, this card just is pretty good. Relying on Super Polys to board break. I also believe we can convert things on the opponent's field to fire in this build, which ends up being very, very strong. I see our side deck. We have Dark Hole and Raigeki. Okay. We're dedicating some slightly more cost, expensive cards to this, but I do think this seems fun. This is the type of deck that I would sit down and be like, let's give Ashen a shot for this format. Now we have some Blue Eyes White Dragon. What's really cool about this is the actual Chaos Max Turbo deck. And this is probably, if you're an old school Yu-Gi-Oh player, you know how annoying Chaos Max could be as a card. Now, we are dedicating some extremely heavy point costage to Baron DeFleur, but Baron is one of those cards that you can very easily make in a deck like this, and you've got your boss monster established, and honestly, what your opponent's supposed to do, you don't really get the links for this format, so you kind of have to make those concessions and try to figure out, what's going to be the more optimized build. Also, going with all of the stones here to work with that. That's actually kind of crazy to me to see this many stones popping up within a deck, but it does look like it works out. Also, good old Mistworm being an option in this deck is kind of hilarious to me. Next up here, we have Eldritch and the toys. So the fact that we are doing Magician Souls in here is kind of funny. Are we... Okay, so, Magician Souls is going to eat off our spells and traps to get us extra pieces. We're playing Spell Purification in here. Okay, well, this build has some interesting toys in it. We're going to say that. Especially, we're doing Number Archiver shenanigans. I would laugh if Number Archiver actually gets a chance to resolve in this deck, because there are some incredibly ignorant cards that you could find here. Also, the Cursed Seal, the Forbidden Spell, kind of looking like a little bit more of a fun option as well. So the 2 of each of the Eld Elixirs, I think, ends up working out just fine. If you're playing this deck, you need to be playing Destructive Daruma Cannon. It's probably one of the most important cards that you can have. And our last list here is actually some Dragon Maids, man. I didn't actually think that people would be, trying this out, but competently enough, it does work out. So you got the Red Eyes and stuff going with the one of names here. Yes, Shio and Lady's Dragon Maid do cost some sort of points, but that's not really a problem. You're able to kind of compensate and figure these out, dedicating the extra slots to the Super Poly. This is probably one of the more competent lists that you could pick up right now and actually work with. I think that's really, really cool. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.